Hola, mommies and poppies. It's Yawnie, your DJ and dance junkie, with today's dose of the dime. Thank you for joining me here on the Batchelor News Radio Network. You could be anywhere in the world, but you are here with me. I like you to thank you for tuning in to the Batchelornews.airtime.pro. And if for whatever reason you missed a show, please come back and watch us on the Batchelornews.airtime.pro. I have several different shows, and obviously there are more. Um, DJs with different, or not DJs, but hosts with different shows and different topics. So you might actually like it. So, absolutely, I am a licensed master of social work, and I actually have been doing this for years. Before I was a therapist, I was a family advocate for 7 years, where I actually kept I helped parents with their problems. I helped people with their relationship, and I help kids, basically parents, deal with their children and maintain. Okay, so I've done this for years. I'm also a certified life coach, and it's something that I've been doing, and I love to do it. So it's my goal again is to heal, then to shift, and then to vibe. What does that mean? So we want to heal. We want to take the pieces of ourselves that are broken, the pieces of ourselves that are torn, and we want to put them back together. And we want to shift, meaning we want to take a turn in what it is that we're doing, because if we continue doing the same thing the same way, we're going to continue to get the same results. So we got to shift our movements, and then you want to vibe. Once we get to a space where we can confidently move forward, we can vibe. So definitely heal, shift, vibe, and I want you to maintain that in your mental when you think about me. Okay, you can always hit me on all my forms of social media. I'm on Facebook, I'm on TikTok, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Pinterest, I'm on different forms of social media. So definitely thank you guys for tuning in. And if you have any questions for me, if you want to see me hit any topics, definitely hit me up in my inbox. I'm always ears. And if you need help, go ahead and hit me up on my website. It's www.thedjdime.com. So thank you guys again for tuning in. So I do have a Facebook group. It is a open group to everybody. It's a public group, and it's called a Dose of the Dime Radio Show. And where we on there, we kind of talk about different hot topics. So definitely, we got 3 of them we're going to address today. So I'm glad that you guys are here. So on there, you can absolutely jump in, chime in, get into the movement of it. We want to talk about relationships so we can reflect, and then we can see what other people are thinking. And if something vibes with you, if something gels with you, definitely do put that into your practice. If it gels with you, if it feels right within your spirit, definitely add that to your whatever it is that you do with relationships. Okay, so if you are watching me live, feel free to send me questions or comments in the chat here on the StreamYard, or you can hit me in the chat here on the Facebook page, and definitely you can hit me in the chat on TikTok. Hopefully I'll be able to see everybody. We got 3 things going on today. It's kind of crazy, but we're going to make it work. And this is my first time on TikTok, so if anybody's tuning in on TikTok, sending you love, guys, okay? So definitely hot topics. What do we want to talk about? The first one that I had posted that I saw we got some traction was that would you, and this was supposed to be for everybody, but it didn't end up, I didn't put that in a moniker, but it's supposed to be for everybody. Would you comfort a significant other if he or she were mourning because an ex died? And again, I did mean for this to be both men and women, but I did not specify that. So mostly women answered, and largely women said yes, of course, 95% across the board. There was one that said no, and then there was one that said that they had questions, which I kind of have to admit I would too. Like if you are that broken up about it, what was it about that relationship that sent you to a different space? What would you do? I mean, if it was a child's father, like I was married once. So if my ex-husband died, I would absolutely shed tears. But definitely, what about those people who it's just an ex? Like it's not necessarily someone who made a major impact. I would have questions. I would absolutely have questions. So definitely that's something that I would think about. Okay. So all right, so Carrie Harlan had the best quote, and I want to make sure that we mention that. She said, if my significant other is hurting, I'm going to comfort him. Obviously, this person was important to him and that he cared about them, but they are no longer together. If he is coming to me in a vulnerable state, I will be there for him. And that 100% is what I want you guys to keep in your mental. You are supposed to be creating a safe space for your relationships. If you are creating a safe space, you're allowing them space to be vulnerable. And if they feel strong enough, safe enough to be vulnerable with you, you have the building blocks for a good relationship. Because if they're vulnerable with you, you can be vulnerable with them, and you guys can build together. Again, as long as you fight fair. I'm going to keep that out there. So definitely, these are the keys to a good and successful relationship. But let's move on to the next hot topic. The next hot topic that I hope will get more hits on was the question: what did your parents teach you about how to be a spouse or a partner, or how to keep a relationship happy, basically? Okay, so what were you taught as a child growing up? What were you taught to keep a relationship going? So basically, this was taken from a meme, just so you know. And I get tired of memes degrading women, like calling them out and calling them lazy and calling them mannish and calling them all these things, because it literally was about men are taught to how to treat women, but women are not taught how to keep men, and all of this stuff. And I just get so tired of that. So I rewrote the meme and I made it basically for everybody, because I wanted to see what people thought, what they were taught, what they reached out and got from their parents. Because I get tired of it. It's just as tired as the old meme that men are all dogs. They're not all dogs. Real point. Okay. So I wanted to explore both sides of it. So there were only 7 real comments from men. And I'm not sure why my men are not jumping in, because I got plenty on the list, but definitely wanted to see more of those comments. So a couple of the comments that the men said were pretty good. First one we said off the top was compromise. Relationships take work. Absolutely, they do take work. Okay. The value of a good partner. No, that cannot be overstated at all. The value of a good partner. If you find somebody that is a good partner for you, they're good to you, they're sweet to you, they do right by you. The value of a good partner, don't trash that. If you trash it and you lose it, you'll never get it again. It's always that one that got away. That will be the one that got away. The value of a good partner cannot be overstated 100% across the board. Okay, definitely. And the last one, which was a good one, very good one, understanding your partner. If you understand where they're coming from, and it's a lot easier to see why they do what it is that they do. Real talk. Okay, so there were 2 comments that raised some eyebrows. The first one was, I guess his mom told him that just to hand over his paycheck and that would keep a woman happy, and it absolutely is incorrect. Maybe for some people, but for most women, that is not enough. It is not enough. Absolutely not enough. Okay. We want to go back to gender roles. A lot of people will be like, the man would work and he would take his check home back in 1967. That's not where we're living at right now. And my general advice when it comes to counseling people that are trying to get married or people who are married is that the person that is the best with the finances, real talk, no cap, no ego, nothing. The person that is best with the finances is the person that needs to be handling the finances. And that's it. It is not about a sex role, a gender role. It is all about who is the best at it. Who's the best with the money? And don't put the man in charge of the money if he is going gambling all the time. Listen, that's not a wise move. All right. Moving forward, the other one that kind of raised my eyebrow was a man said his mom taught him to cook and clean so that he wasn't dependent on women. I dig that. I guess just the way it was said kind of rubbed me the wrong way. In a marriage, and because I was married, it's supposed to be a partnership, correct? So when you do a partnership, you're supposed to take on both chores, both gender roles. If you both work, you both come home, you both should do chores. And one person shouldn't be doing more than the other. So when you're in a relationship, cooking and cleaning is important. Definitely. You guys should be on one accord as to who can do what, because whoever does what best is where it should be. If she does cooking better than she does cleaning, then maybe you should do cleaning. If you do cooking better than you do cleaning, then you should be cooking. Ooh, I gotta sneeze, but that's awful. All right, but when I come back to it, it's about who can do what best. It's not necessarily about a gender role. It shouldn't be. because that's going to unfortunately create unhappiness. Especially if I'll be honest with you, when I was married, it was a big deal because I would work 8 hours just like he did, and then I would have to come home and have dinner ready, kids taken care of, clothes washed, and the house clean. And it became majorly daunting for me to continue to do that. And I always felt like I was failing. But in the reality was I just did not have that partnership that should have been there. Real talk. Okay. So women were short on responses too. I only had 19 show up, which is fine. I mean, I will work with what I got, but here were some of the better ones. Know your mate. Definitely know your mate. Know who it is that you are dealing with. That way you don't treat them any kind of way. Real talk. Okay. Have balance in the way that you guys live. There's always going to be somebody that shortchanges. There's never going to be a 50% marriage. You're both going to have to give 100%, and there has to be some type of balance within that. Okay. Definitely. There was one woman that made note that she said she was taught to support her family. She said that her mom was not particularly happy in their marriage, but she was taught to support her family no matter what. And I kind of, because of my history, I go like both ways on that. I don't think that is, you should take care of your children because they didn't ask to be here. But when it comes to taking care of somebody that is not taking care of you, I do not agree. My thing, my opinion, of course. Then there was teamwork. Teamwork is absolutely a huge fundamental part of this. You got to have teamwork. You got to be working together. Otherwise, it's going to fall apart. Real talk. And then last one, actually, not the last one. Loyalty was a big one. But the last one was social or societal norms. Like this woman was taught these norms as a child in order to have a successful relationship, meaning she was taught to not get her husband from the bar. She was taught to not to be in church. She was taught to, when you have children, have a bunch of them. She was taught to be ladylike, be attractive, be a good housekeeper. The societal norms, and I go back to that, not necessarily that these are bad things, but you have to work with what you have. If your relationship is flip-flop and the man is a better housekeeper than you are, then you need to switch that. And or vice versa. If she is a better moneymaker, if her career brings home 7 figures or 6 figures, humble yourself and stay home, because listen, that's a blessing if she can bring home that kind of money. The problem is that when we get into these tug of wars, it becomes all about power. And of course, money equals power to some men, and that ends up being a problem. And then, of course, women not excluded. When we get on this whole, I'm independent, I don't need you, I got my own check. That ends up breaking up a relationship. Now, please be clear. I am very clear that I feel like women should be independent, but I also feel like women need a partner. And I notice I said partner because I want to be fair to the LGBTQ community, but definitely women need a partner. Men need a partner. And we want to get into that a little bit later when we talk about marriage, but definitely the last hot topic, which has actually picked up some steam recently. The question was, can you think of one man or woman in your life that has not lied to you, betrayed you, or used you? And that's real talk. It was pretty hard. I see a comment on here, and I'm going to get back to that. I want to take a real quick break before I get into this question, and then I'll get into your question. But let me get this real quick. We want to talk about the Batchelor.airtime.pro, and we're on there. We're going to have feature album Friday, every Friday from 5:30 to 6 o'clock. It is 30 minutes of one artist's total discography. So what do I mean by that? So this week it's going to be India.Arie. And if you have not, man, listen, I love India.Arie. Listen, real talk. I am that incense burning chick. I will have India.Arie on in the background with a stiff margarita, and listen, it will melt your cares away. So if you get time on Friday, 5:30 Eastern Standard Time, make sure you go to the Batchelor.airtime.pro and check out India.Arie. She's going to be playing. It's going to be 30 minutes of all of her music, and listen, we're going to just vibe with that, okay? And definitely don't forget to check out Whisper Softly. Whisper Softly is the Quiet Storm version that the Batchelor's Radio Network has, and it's pretty cool. cool. Definitely something that you can vibe to. So it runs Sunday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, it's nothing but like slow jams, mellow music, the old school stuff that your parents used to be like, woo, that stuff that made you, listen, just put it on, play it, and watch the mood mellow in the house. So absolutely, definitely check that out on the Batchelor News Radio, the batchelornews.airtime.pro. One more thing, on Saturdays, they do a little party groove session. You should check it out. Also around the same time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure you check that out, get your party on, and have a good time with it. So I'm going to pause for a quick break. So thank you guys for tuning in, and I will be right back at you on the batchelornews.airtime.pro.
Do you suffer from chronic CFED or can't focus energy drain? Try over-the-counter Vibrant. One tablet contains the same caffeine as a cup of coffee, but without the calories or coffee breath. Vibrant. Caffeine, not coffee. Taking Vibrant may result in increased productivity and decreased dread in setting alarms. Unexpected enjoyment of the graveyard shift has been associated with Vibrant. Vibrant may be a better budget option than drinking coffee. It may also decrease the urge to doze off, skip work, or exhibit signs of slacking. All jokes aside, always read the label, take only as directed, and limit caffeine as it may cause real side effects. Not for children under age 12.
In love. Hey, hola mommies and poppies, it's Yawnie, your DJ and your dance junkie, with today's dose of the dime. I wanted to talk about this question we have in the chat real quick. Angie asked, a woman who is looking for compliments from a man, there is a sign of insecurity. Okay, so there's not a clear-cut answer to that. Is a woman that looks for compliments a sign of insecurity? It depends on how she goes to get it. Okay, if she is flashing things that she shouldn't be flashing for attention, then I would say it might be a form of insecurity. But everybody, to a certain extent, wants to be validated. Everybody wants to be validated. I don't care who it is. It's not uncommon for those of us who, attractive or not, want to hear that we look good or feel good or smell good or taste good. Anyway, back to what I was saying. No, I do not necessarily think that it's insecurity. It would be based on how they do it. So thank you for that question, Angie. We're going to get back to this last hot topic. The question was, can you think of one person, man or woman, in your life that has not lied to you, betrayed you, or used you? The first time I posted it on my page, I posted it on my normal Facebook page. Okay. And it was pretty heartbreaking to me because I had like 200 comments. 20% of the comments said Jesus. Okay. I get it. No disrespect to, any Christian at all. I'm looking for, was there a human person, a person in particular that, was there one person that of the opposite sex that did not disrespect you, lie to you, cheat on you, betray you, etc.? And so it was really, really sad because majority of them said no. It was sad. Okay. Very few said yes. But here's the flip. When I posted it on the DJ, A Dose of the Dime, 86% of the ladies that answered replied that they can, which is a positive sign. But here is the other piece of that. 86% of the ladies said that they can say they had a person that did not, of the opposite sex, did not lie to them, did not cheat, did not betray them in any way. However, majority of them were family members and their father. That's the flip side of that. So, yeah. And understand why I say that. Of the men, we only had 23 comments from the men, and that's fine. But 92% of the men said that they did have a woman in their lives that never lied to them or cheated them or betrayed them. And they were all, listen, the comments were like, yeah, too many to name. Oh, I can name several, plenty of them, but they're all friends, family members too. But you get what I'm saying. So of the women, they can only name family members. Of the men, they can name a countless number of women. So it goes back to the original or the old school question: can men be friends with a woman without wanting sex from her or wanting a relationship from her? That's a question that I'm going to ask next, because based on this, only men who were family members to these women were men that they could trust implicitly. Vice versa, men had several different kinds of women that they could trust. So I go back to that question: can men be a good friend to women without it being a relationship or sex driven? I would love to hear that in the comments. Back to what we're talking about. So definitely last week we got into some, some obstacles when it comes to developing a relationship. First of all, your life can be a whole freaking obstacle. If you do not have your life in order and you don't have your stuff together, it's going to be an obstacle when it comes to dating. Please do not date if you do not have your life in order. If you do not have your job together, if you do not have your house together, if you do not have, your transportation, that one's iffy because, of course, there are different types of people with different types of situations going on. But if you don't have your life together, if you got major problems with baby mama, baby daddy, or whatever, do not try to date. It's not the time because you're not going to be able to devote the mental power or the emotional power to them that you need to. That can ruin a marriage, much less mess up your dating pool, okay? So some other obstacles is definitely lack of healthy communication. I think we talked about that. Being overwhelmed, being overly critical, being picky, being nitpicky, and definitely not knowing when to fight fair. Again, we talked about fighting fair, meaning that anything that was told to you in confidence, you don't bring that up. Anytime that you've had an argument that you deaded, don't bring that back up. You have to fight fair. Name calling, disrespect, that's not fighting fair. So it is never, ever about the fight. It's never, ever about the conflict. It's about the disrespect that comes with the conflict. So never you're going to hear that a relationship died because of conflict. What you're going to hear, unfortunately, is that it's the disrespect that came with it. It's what we just watched Love is Blind and the whole Natalie and Shane situation. Their relationship was rock solid up until this last argument, and he blew it. He was disrespectful, told her he hated her, and that was the turning point of their whole entire relationship. And we're sitting there watching them, and they're sitting there like so uncomfortably sad. You could still feel the love that was there, like it was so uncomfortably sad. So definitely, please be careful. Please be mindful that when you argue, that can make or break your relationship. And it's something that Shamika Glover has said, fighting fair. And I use that term now to talk about when I say you have to fight in a way that everybody can continue to you can have this conflict and learn from it and move forward. Okay. And taking each other for granted and mistrust. And then the really, really big one was unrealistic expectations. That one was one of the really, really big ones. So you want to make sure that you have realistic expectations when you are dealing with the mate. You're not dealing with them from a space of something that if you're dealing with someone in a space of you want them to read your mind, that's not realistic. You want them to be able to tell you you want them to be able to do for you without you saying, hey, please do this for me. That's not realistic. If you're expecting them to be like your ex, that's not realistic. You have to be realistic. You have to say upfront what your expectations are. You can't expect them to guess. That's not fair. Okay. Well, we're going to move into today's topic. That was last week's topic. Absolutely. If you want to catch that show, it's on the bachelors.airtime.pro. But today's show is about marriage because I got a couple of minutes to get into this, so I'm going to get into it as much as I can. And if you have questions or concerns, please hit them in the inbox here, hit them in the inbox there, and hit them in the inbox here. I got so much stuff going on. Woo! Okay, so this week, we're getting into it. We're not talking about ultimatums yet. We're not even talking about prenuptials yet, because understand, I do not believe in ultimatums, one, and I do believe in prenuptials. Real talk. But let's talk about marriage. So we have kind of always been taught or kind of referenced that women really are gung-ho about marriage. And to that point, I feel like that part is true. We have always wanted to have a husband. Having a husband kind of gives us a social status that is different from being single, but it doesn't make it better. Okay. But here's what I have noticed. I have went to 3 different articles, 4 different YouTube videos, 2 peer-reviewed articles where they talk about that men are the ones that benefit from marriage. And when I talk about benefit, I'm talking about statistically, they are happier and healthier than the unmarried counterparts. Yeah. Go figure. So Men benefit more from marriage. They are happier and they are healthier. And it doesn't matter if the marriage is good or bad. Now, here's the flip side of this. Oh, by the way, marriage is also good for their careers. It's noted that people who are married normally make up the 1% of the 1% that people who have the larger careers. Okay. So, what about women? Unfortunately, our benefit is tied to the quality of the marriage. If the marriage is bad, we're going to have a bad marriage. If the marriage is bad, of course we're going to have a bad marriage. That was stupid. Anyway, if the marriage is bad, you're going to have poor mental, poor emotional, and eventually poor physical health. 70% of divorces, by the way, are initiated by women. This is a statistic from 2020. 70% of divorces are now initiated by women. Versus back before we could even vote, like back in the 40s, none of them were initiated by women. They were not supported. So here's the flip question of that. So do we have, and I'm talking women, a higher expectation of marriage? Let's talk about it. Okay, so in the past, what were the basic requirements? I mean, okay, so sex, decent, consistent sex is a basic requirement. Respect for each other, basic requirement. I mean, obviously, we could talk about those outliers where people did not have respectful relationships, right? But the common theme that we know, the Leave It to Beaver type of romantic relationship was they had respect for each other. The woman was upheld on a pedestal. The man went to work. The woman kept the house. The woman kept the kids. And this was the basic milestones for relationships, right? Okay, so and the goal was to hit these milestones together, to buy a house, to have kids, to retire together. These were the basic milestones of having a relationship. That was in the past, okay? Now, from what I'm reading, listen, this is just what I'm reading. Please do not shoot the messenger. We want to be emotionally supported, which, okay, I can see that. We also want intellectual stimulation. I can see that too. We also want companionship to the ultimate best friend level. Like, I want to marry my best friend. Okay, do you see how the levels are getting up? So no, on top of, okay, so wait, we haven't even gotten to sex, but on top of respect for each other and hitting these milestones together, we've upped it 3 times. A continuous source of joy, laughter, and support. Ooh, okay, and then stellar sex. Like every sexual encounter should be earth-shaking. I can't even figure on that. No, listen. And a romantic type, the kind of person that will do and say the right thing, you know, almost like it's scripted from one of those romantic comedies from the 90s, like, you know, oh, in the sunset, and he takes her hair and he touches her face and he says, oh my God, you complete me. That type of stuff. These are the things that we're looking for. And unfortunately, some of this stuff is kind of unrealistic. Again, I go always back to what my Baba J said. Baba J said, you know that you have a good partner when at the end of the day, despite their drama, despite your drama, you can lay your crusty feet next to their crusty feet and you are happy and okay. To me, that was like the best relationship advice I had ever heard, because we all have drama. We all have drama. That's real talk. So it's about our demons can play well together enough so we can get the business of the day done. Because I got to tell you, what the world, the fate that they faced back in the 60s and 70s is not the world that we face now. So yeah, a little bit more is required from our relationships. So a little bit more is required from us. And that's real talk, okay? So so here's one of the statistics that I noted in Women I Love You, but this is what it is. While most women do not regret asking for a divorce, many will note that as they get into a second marriage, the men are human. And they probably could have made it through their first marriage. So now that's something to be discussed. Now, obviously, we're not talking about relationships where they were beat on or they were cheated on or they were stolen from to the point where they had to hustle and make it for their household. We're not talking about that. We're talking about general relationships where things just went wrong and they drifted apart and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so these are the types of things that we're talking about. I have one question right here. I wanted to make sure. And it says, Monisha, I'm so sorry, guys. Monisha asked that when do you go too far as a woman being submissive? Okay, that's a good question. When do you go too far as a woman in being submissive to a man? If you have, okay, so what I understood, because my mother was very much so submissive, and my father very much so was the head of the household. They discussed everything together, but the ultimate decision always lied with my father. But 9 times out of 10, they always agreed, because the man's job is to be the head of the household, but it is the woman's job to turn his head to see what it is that he's supposed to look at. Okay, this is what I was taught. Please, if you were taught something different, I do totally understand. But what I was taught was how you are supposed to show your man the things that you want. Show your man what he should be looking at. Show your man, give him the facts, whatever, and then he makes the decision. So when it comes to being submissive and you do not agree with the decision that is being made, that is where we've gone too far. It's specifically if the decisions being made are detrimental to your house. I tied that right in, because I told you there are 3 things that I will leave for: beating, cheating, and stealing. That ties right into stealing. If you are making decisions that are detrimental to the house and it is messing up your money, it is messing up your foundation, it is shaking the core of the relationship, definitely that is something that you want to have a conversation about, for sure. Okay. Because I put that in alignment with stealing. If you are making decisions that is jacking your household up, that's something that needs to be addressed. Okay. Another question was, okay, she's breaking up bad, but it's hard to hear. Okay, no worries. We will move forward. So so on that note, when we talk about the 3 things that make relationships worth staying for, I say 3 and I put up 4. 3 things that make the relationship staying for. How much time you have invested, how much, the quality of the relationship. So when I say time, do I mean that, if you've had 10 years invested with this person, if they were 10 unhappy years, I do not recommend you staying. If they were 10 good years, mostly good, because not everything is perfect. We know this. Not everything is perfect. But if there were 10 good years and you have invested with this person, definitely that's something that you should consider before you leave somebody. Okay. And quality time. That's number 2. What's the quality of your relationship? Do you spend most of it together? Not quantity. I mean quality. Was it good love given? Was it good support given? Did you feel your best? Did you feel like Superman when you were with her? Then if that is the case, that's a relationship worth investing in. Okay? Definitely vested interests. So when we talked about things that you guys do together, investing in a house, I'm also talking about building your empire. What businesses have you invested together? I'm all about creating an empire with your mate if your goals are in alignment. So for instance, there's a couple in Tulsa, Oklahoma, the Worthams, Jerica and Webster, and I just feel like they are the ultimate power couple. Their goals are in alignment with each other, and they are always consistently building. And that's something that I'm like, yeah. Even my parents, I do understand. My dad, and I said my dad was the head of the household. He was. So he worked while my mom went to school. My mom went to school she was one of the first Black RNs in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So definitely he worked while she went to school. And then when she got her career going on, she allowed him to start building on his own business. To me, that was the biggest, best power dynamic I've ever seen. And I feel like these relationships can work. You just have to be in it and vulnerable and safe and committed to the goal. Because if you're not committed to the goal, it's going to fall apart. Real talk. Okay. And I do not believe in staying together for the children. I do not. Especially if the relationship is horrible. But if your relationship has the time put in as we talked, the quality of love put in as we talked, and the vested interest, the children, unfortunately, they play a part in that. Those are some things that make a relationship worth staying in. Okay. But what is the turning point? You already said it. Cheating, dishonesty, disrespect, disconnection, and definitely the red flags. Those are the things that you want to kind of tune out for. If you've seen it, if you see it coming, because there are red flags in getting in a relationship. There's also red flags while you're in a relationship. And if you start to see some red flags in a relationship, you want to pay attention to those. And we might cover those next week. But if you want to pay attention to those so that you can be on the lookout for them, because, and again, red flags do not mean leave. Red flags mean pay attention, something may not be right. So definitely you want to make sure that you do these things. Think about these things, and everybody's breaking point is different. So what you may be able to deal with, somebody else may not be. So definitely something to consider. But I did want to go ahead and leave you guys with an affirmation. It's my time, so I'm going to go ahead and bow out gracefully. The affirmation, it was very simple today because I wanted to make sure that this marinated for people who are single and for people who are married. So the affirmation today is, I am safe and I am loved. It's very simple. So affirmations, how you make them work is in the morning when you get up and you look yourself into the mirror and you say, I am safe and I am loved. I am safe and I am loved. Okay. When you feel anxiety about your relationship or you feel like something ain't right, you say to yourself, I am safe and I am loved. These are things that you kind of repeat. It's helpful to you. Okay. So that's your affirmation for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. I will be here on Tuesday, same time, same place. Thank you for tuning in on TikTok. Thank you for tuning in on Facebook. And of course, my happy friends in Radio Land. I'm so happy that you guys came and tuned in with me. Again, same time, same place. Hit me up on Facebook, all my social media, anytime that you want. If you want a topic drop, I'm there for that too. But thank you for tuning in right here on the Batchelor News Radio Network. Bye. How do I get out of this, guys? Thank you for tuning in. I'm so happy that you guys were able to tune in and see this first broadcast on TikTok, and definitely my old faithful favorites on Facebook.